I hope everyone can hear the music a little bit. So
Yeah, I can hear now.
Yeah.
I hope everyone can hear the music a little bit. So
Yeah, I can hear now.
by the way, this video is also being broadcasted, and I'm just dropping the link in the chat.
Hmm. Hi,
Hey,
Michela. Hi, Michaela. How are you?
Great, thanks.
Thank you for joining.
as people are joining in, just a small request. Please turn on your cameras if you could. Thank you. The video, the call is being recorded and it is also being broadcast. So if you want your privacy, that's completely all right. But if you want to come on cameras, that's highly encouraged. Okay, do you think we'll give about another 3 minutes for people to join?
Yeah, I think so. And while we are waiting for people, I just drop a note on the chat, right? Just encourage everybody to share about yourself, who you are, where you come from, and also your LinkedIn profile, what you are doing as well. So, we just take the chance for connection, right?
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Oh, if I share the screen, then I don't hear anything from you, Kithana. It
Oh,
sounds
I
like,
see. That's
yeah,
because I was sharing just my audio before. That's fine.
okay.
You're good to continue.
Yeah, I think so because we just have 1 more minute and then we're gonna start up.
For sure, for sure.
All right, it's 12:05 now, so I think we can start up. Kathana, is there any other logistic we need to do, or I just go ahead?
We're all set. The thing is being broadcasted. We are recording. Everything is technically set. So all yours, Katie.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so thank you so much everyone for for joining this event. I know that we're setting up it quite late. It's just early this week, and then we just have like 4 days for people to, know about that, make time for it in a Friday, what is it? In the Friday afternoon. And yeah, really thank you so much for joining me, Kithana, and Sumit today. A bit background about why we have this event, right? So today is Friday, is one of the day in the Human in AI week, and this is initiated by the AI Collective. And both all of us, Sumit, Katie, Kethana, we come from AI Collective, and we're very excited for this theme this Human in AI week because it speaks to our hearts. It speaks to the thing that we observe, the thing that we worry about, the connection between AI and human, how we can build trust and how we can navigate across the chaos and maximize the opportunity, but also protect ourselves from any threats coming from AI, right? So that's why when I and Kathana met each other just last week in a hackathon organized by Confluent and IBM, and AI Collective is actually a co-host of that one. We really want to put this session on, and it should be an online so that like if you are not in Toronto like me or Kathana, you can also, learn about this, share your opinion with us, and also learn directly from experts from Google like Sumit about what's are going on, how you can protect yourself and bring on the strategy for cybersecurity in the AI era. Yep. So I hope that this session would be very, interactive and also bring a lot of information for you guys. So please feel free to give us any questions, any, conversation on chat. Keith and I will help me to take a look at that. And we can will start right now. Okay. So I want to talk about what is it, my own journey of why I am becoming, more into cybersecurity, because I strongly believe that this would be, beneficial for you guys as well. Because I am actually one of you guys. I am actually a builder. I'm in software for 15 years. And for the last 7 years, I am an AI product manager. I build products for startups, for unicorn, and for big corporation, Fortune 500. But the more I build a product, the more I'm feeling the AI, the power of AI is somehow a bit out of control, right? As a product manager, I always have to think about what's the risk our feature will bring to our end users, not just about the power of that. And then it keep, me questioning myself how like when we share a lot of data to AI, when we build the models, how we can really gut reel that model so that it's safe and all the hallucination, even 1% of that will not does any harm to my end users. So that is the motivation from my end when I decided to step further into cybersecurity. And I've with SciStack for the last 2 years. I have the insights from how a cybersecurity firms perceive about AI, how they respond to that, how the clients came to them approaching and see the scenes changing. And that's why exactly why as well, when I joined the AI collective, I talked to the team and I want to lead the cybersecurity vertical. So here are some of the events that I organized together with the team. Um, the latest event is actually just last week, last Wednesday, when I was in a Series A startup in healthcare, and we talk about healthcare compliance. We also demystify like whether or not compliance in healthcare is very complicated and out of reach for startups. And the answer from the healthcare compliance expert is no. Every founder can adopt healthcare from day one. And I also want to have the same message for you guys within today. Every startup, no matter how small your team are, even if you are just one person startup, you still can adopt cybersecurity. You don't have to spend like an enterprise level budget to have it. And there are three key reasons why you should think about it right now. So, there are three reframes that I shared with many audience before on why I changed my mind and why you guys should. And today I'm gonna walk you through as well. The first one is AI is already empowered. Give me a second. I need to minimize this one so that you guys can see it.
I just wanted to quickly jump in quite a bit. Before Katie walks you through this, this week, like Katie was saying, is Humans and AI Week, right? And
I don't see.
if you can drop in the chat what you feel, there's a lot going on out there. So, what do you feel about being a human in the age of AI in the chat? That'll be very helpful. Because if, it kind of feels like a splurge of technology taking over humanity, especially in the age that we are today. So I'm very curious about what each of you think, what that means for you and for your team or your families, and just your thought on what does it feel to be human in the age of AI.
Yeah, absolutely. This is very crucial, right? To reflect and think about that. That's super crucial questions. Right. So let me continue, right? So my first argument here is that AI already empowers hackers. Even if you are not using AI, it already empower hackers to hack your system, to get into your privacy sensitive information. And it's in a cheaper way, in a faster scale, in a faster speed, and it's targeting small organizations. So like some number here, I for you guys to to see the what I'm sharing, right? Only $0.1 for a cost to launch a spear phishing campaign. Spear phishing campaigns meaning that it can be very personalized. It's not like a mass and broken English one. It's a very personalized into your mailbox. 27 seconds is the fastest time for a hacker to move from one compromised computer to another. So imagine if your system got hacked, it just take less than half a minute to spread out to many other device, computer, and equipments of your organization, right? And down here is the number is a trend. It's showing the trend of how cyber attacks attacking smaller business more than large business recently. The red one here is a smaller business. And you see, right, in the 2025, the smaller business have higher attack than others organizations. And that is a growing trend causing by AI empower hackers. The second reason I want to tell you is vibe coding to agentic models that you guys are using, are designing, brings more threats. Here's some names, right, of vibe coding tool. Lovable, Superbase, Replit, they all got hacked. And even if you don't use vibe coding tool to, design and develop your system, if you use agentic models, it introduces 15 more threats to your systems. And this is the research coming from OSWAP. So combine the two story, right? If you don't use AI, hackers already have better chance to attack your system. And if you use AI, they even have more open doors to get into your systems. And the third one actually is a more important thing I want to share with you guys, and I'm really interested in what your thought on this. I think that cybersecurity is now is a sales weapon. So here's my argument. You spend a lot of time to, do the discovery to find what the insights, the features that you need to build for your customers, right? And you launch it. And after just few days, it got really good tractions, but your competitors can just copy it in weeks, or if I can say it's even now in days, right? So as a product manager, I used to believe that building a unique selling point is building a very cool features, nobody can copy it fast. But when AI come, the speed up, building, copy new features is way shorter than the before, right? So I don't think that features, cool features is your selling point, is your sales weapon anymore. And on the other side, even if you have a cool features for your healthcare, for your fintech products, but it require a lot of sensitive informations, and you don't show your end users enough evidence and proof of how you handle their data, how privacy, how security it is, that is actually a blocker for you to get your end users adopt it early. And one funny thing that I found just spot out yesterday, for the same yesterday, Spotify and Google sent me a new privacy update. And in Spotify email, they highlighted to me very clearly that my privacy updates is for you to, understand it's easier to monitor it's better and at your own pace. So big names, they already move. They already lower the barrier of the users to understand how the data being treated. And I strongly believe that that is why, the signal of cybersecurity, privacy protection is now a sales weapon, building trust, right? And of course, for B2B, dear, questionnaires, security questionnaires or SOC 2 type 1, type 2 is always a big barrier, a big ask from anybody who, offer B2B business, solution for B2B business. And from all of these three key reasons, I started to learn and immerse myself more into cybersecurity. I want to understand what is a threat map. And by working with my team in SciStack, I understand that simply there are just two types of threat maps, internally and externally. Internal threat means something, external threats means something coming at you. Something like, oh, they do phishing, they attack your supply chains, vendors, right? They take over the account or they attack on the AI. Like there are some techniques on AI attacks. Internal one is actually something inside you, like the tool you are using, the system you are building, the human in your team, like your employees, yourself, your family, and also how your habit of sharing the data. These are all the open doors for the hackers if you don't know how to, protect it, how to defend. So I want to walk you through the whole list of this threat map. I cannot go very deep, but for each of that, I would also highlight what AI changing the scenario right now and what is the one of the best practice I learned along the way to defend, right? So let's go first of all on the external threats, what's coming at you. There are actually five external threats, as I mentioned, right? AI-powered social engineering. This is the term to mention about any phishing, deepfake, written phishing, or even QR code phishing, all the thing. So there's a lot of like awareness training session. They mentioned that, oh, phishing email is some email that have broken English and it contain a lot of like grammar mistakes and very generic, right? But no, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, right? Spear phishing is on the rise and it makes people lost real money. Like Arab, just one voice call lost 25 million in 2024. And it's very easy to find any evidence outside there. But one big signal here is that the, the rising of phishing is 1,000 times more than before AI era. So keep an eye on phishing. Whenever you read the email, try to verify it yourself and be more sensitive whenever it's come to money, data, and like credential requests, like login info. The second external one is about takeover, the account takeover at scale. So why it at scale? Like now they can use bots to leak your password. They can use LLM account to store all the chats, and from that chat they also have some sensitive account, some sensitive information, right? And it also can hijacking your sessions by bypass MFA if it's weak, right? Also about authentication, it can send some malicious apps and trick user to grant permissions to access to any account that you are using, like Google or Microsoft one. So the defense in here that I've learned is we need to strengthen our MFA. We even should use passkeys, fidos, and for the authentication session, it should be shorter. Now come to the third one, supply chain attacks, right? So supply chain attack actually is like every third-party tools that you are using. This Zoom, Slack, Google Drive, um, Cloud, right? Everything can be under attack if that third party cannot strengthen their own cybersecurity practice. So one of the recommendation here is really scan through the supply chain. Keep an eye on what they are protecting, how they are protecting their systems, and if there is any incident with them. Trying to scanning all the dependencies, and especially if you do any installation of the package, remember to check it because AI can generate hallucinated package name. And if you like do automation, like package install, it can also bring malware into your system. The fourth one is about infrastructure and API attack. So I learned a lot here that in infrastructure and AI attack, they can use a lot of simple tools to do the subdomain takeovers, to identify what is your shadow APIs and whether or not your cloud is misconfiguration to attack the system. And if you are using vibe coding, these attacks can be even easier because when you have the vibe coding, the cybersecurity element of that hasn't strengthened yet. There's a lot of flaws, and hacker can use that to attack your API infrastructure. The fifth one, an external one that I want to share is about AI on AI attack. It basically like prompt injection. Like you give a command to the give a prompt, say ignore all the previous instructions, and then it will bypass your guardrails if your guardrail isn't strong enough. I was in a FSP conference where an expert from Thales, he showed us how weak guardrails existing LLM like ChatGPT, Claude, and Google are, and how they are working on it to, block and identify all the prompt injections. It's a very complicated story. And myself, when I built a mental health platform, we spent a lot of time just to, strengthen our guardrails and evaluate that even, much more harder, right? Function is not a big deal, but guardrails is a way, way bigger time and very exciting in how we can evaluate that. So one thing to observe and keep watching here is from Oswald. Oswald's top 10 is very famous in cybersecurity world. They provide some guidelines, some best practice, top 10, some threat modeling to, advise organizations to comply and making sure that all those ecosystem are protected from threats. So my recommendation is you keep, you know, looking at your own you keep an eye on your own agentic systems, trying to build a guardrail better and follow up all the OSWAF, NIST, and MISTRE guideline to know what is the best practice and then adapt quickly to your system. Now come to the internal threats. Internal threat is actually what inside you, right? As I mentioned earlier. So one is about vibe coding. Vibe coding, like when you using Claude, using Google, building your websites by Lovable, right? It can generate more flaws in cybersecurity than others. By using a free security scan tool, it can find at least six of these security flaws just within 1 minute. And imagine if hackers have that too, and then they scan through your systems, right? It can easily find out where to get into your system, take over it, and got all the data that you guys are building. I know that
Yeah.
many, yes?
Can I ask a question on that? So, I mean, I can do the same thing with, let's say, Cursor or let's say Cloud Code. So, what's different from your project that I give the entire code base to it and it's that good?
Sorry, is this your question?
My question is that I can do the what you are offering with Cursor or Cloud Code. I can give it the project and I can ask it to identify the issues. So, what is it different from your service that you're providing that a normal code editor will be able to solve?
My service? Um, I don't know if you are having a mistake here, but I'm not doing offering any service. Who is talking?
I
Sorry.
think, hi. So I think this is just an information session. Katie's not offering any service, just to clarify. She's just explaining like the things that are happening today.
Oh, but
Um,
Yeah.
see, it says see by stack, and if I go to the website, it offers like a lot of solutions
oh,
on
I
the
think you
Ah,
can,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
connect with her offline about it, but yeah,
mm.
this call is not about that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So thank you so much for asking it. But th for this call, I just want to share my own journey of understand about how AI is changing the cybersecurity and also provide you guys some recommendations. So all of the recommendation would be in few minutes later. Okay. Right. So let me go ahead. I need to keep watching my time as well. Yeah, agentic systems. Agentic system having a lot of if you give it a lot of power, it is a big deal as well, right? It can delete your code. It can, automate a lot of tasks that you don't want it to be. And as I mentioned earlier, it have 15 new threats into the systems. One example, like from Anthropic research, when they like when the Opus 4 got threatened by replacement, it choose to blackmail or leak the data out 69% of time. And when they do the new models, they put a hard effort in, release a new model with zero score. But this is an example of how agentic system can decide something not on your behalf, not follow your command, right? If it sounds harmful for them. And another question, if you keep saying that, oh, agentic system AI is an intern, so why do you give them the admin keys, right? So monitor the permissions, what exact rule right access that agentic system can access is very, very crucial. Memory poisoning and the MCP trust boundary is also something very new coming from agentic systems, and how protecting it is still in progress of, identifying and I will keep you guys updated on how and what to be prepared for this. Your dev tool. So IDE itself is now on target as well. Here are some example of tool like Cloud Code Cursor and Gemini and Copilot. Because AI is new and it's bringing more threat into the picture, there's no absolute answer for that. But the best defense that I found out is we need to patch AI to very often, like weekly basis, disable auto run, and for every MCP version server, we should vet it, like trying to review and make sure that it's reliable, and never do the git clone random repos without any sandboxing environment. The fourth one is about human layer. Actually, this is the most vulnerable in the ecosystem. 60% of the breach is actually involve human factors. phishings from human, right? The insider risk of how you are not managing well your teams, giving them too much power of access right. And when you offboarding them, you forgot to remove them from all the access. And there's a figure for that. Very common in team from 5 to 20% that ex-employees still have access to all the system, or at least like the one that are very critical and they forget to remove it. And the solution here is actually simple. Adopting passwords manager, adopting single sign-on, and so that you can just like one click and remove all of them out of your system when they're offboarding. And one thing I forget mentioning as well is the human layer here doesn't mean that only your employees or yourself. It can be everybody around themselves, like their family members and all the application that they are using, like the dating app, the ChatGPT thing, right? Because they can share, they can build, they can create the same, use the same passwords that they're using over those platforms and use to access to your system, work on your product. And if you don't using very very sophisticated authentication, it will be another threat layer for you to deal with whenever it comes to human. Data sprawl. So data sprawl is another term not similar to data leak. Data leaks is when your data will leak out, right? But data sprawl is like how you deal with your data, your customers' data, whether or not you share in just a simple Google Docs and share it very visibly in the Slack message, or whether or not whether or not your API keys got encrypted, right? And all the backup of your Google Drive, whether the information was shared in a screenshot in your Notion page. So it's more of a habit of how you're protecting the sensitive information to not being leaked out. Because AI now can have hackers to scan through all the systems, image, video, to capture sensitive information and then use it to attack against you. So be mindful with data you are sharing, have the policy for that, classify the data, and trying to scanning all the secret you are using, secret keys, every commit. There are some tools called Secret Manager that help you automate most of the tasks as well here. So there's a lot of threats, right? And I want to come into the guideline for different stage of your startups. If you are a solo startup from less than 5 people, early team from 6 to 20, or growth team from 20 to 50, what you should do from day zero, foundational period, and when you grow further. So for example, in day zero, you should have passwords manager. We should have MFA everywhere. For the secret keys, it shouldn't be plain text hard-coded into your code. And for exactly those keys, you should rotating it, especially for any vibe coding tool keys. It didn't do that job for you. You need to do it yourself. And there are tools out there for doing that, right? The second month later after you starting out everything, I highly recommend you to do the scanning, to having AI US policy, like what is the red AI, what is the green AI models and tools, and how your employees should use it. It's very important. When I worked at Unilever, whenever I opened ChatGPT, Unilever would have a red line on that. And I was not able to open it anymore because at that time it was listed in the red AI tool, right? And also, especially very important is how you respond to incidents. That is the playbook. It's easy to search and provide as a guideline for your teams because it have you faster to respond to incidents before it get too fast, too quick. And yes, SOC 2, many people in cybersecurity compliance talk about that, trying to be ready for it because it's a very tedious, time-consuming procedure, but it's super crucial for you if you want to handle real customers' data and win the deal in enterprise. Right. For all early team from 6 to 20 and growth, I also have some recommendation here. Let's have a capture of this slide deck and analyze further with your team. It would be your Bible for cybersecurity strategy as we promised from the beginning. And this one is about how you adopt that on regular cadence, daily, what you should do, weekly, monthly, and quarterly, right? So for daily, if you have any AI commits, make sure to review it. Make sure review all the logs or the alerts, and especially don't paste secret key into any AI tools. And secret managers, I mentioned it again because it's super powerful. And just after I went to this journey, I know about that. It is super powerful to scan all the secret key that you put hard coded in your system and encrypting it, rotating it, right? On the weekly, you also need to make sure about your credentials, review all the access logs from your team, and scanning all the dependencies. On monthly basis, scan vulnerability. There are thousands of vulnerabilities out there. You cannot manually check it yourself, but there are free tools for you to scan the vulnerability as well. Audit the permissions, users permission as well, trying to make sure that your employees have the right permissions and um, about AI permission as well. How what data they should share on the AI tools is also super important, and it should be a habit for them, right? And on quarterly, review the vendor security, review your AI policy because AI running so fast, there can be new models every time with new powers coming with new threats, and of course, update the threat models to that sense. I also want to mention some framework that maybe from software industry we don't pay attention much to. OSWAF, NIST, SOC 2, Mitre Ask they are all working on strengthening the cybersecurity factor for AI. And we have here Sumit, and he's come from OWASP as well. He's contribute to some of the OWASP project. So you can also put many questions to him to understand what is going on in this space. And I want to have a last line to summarize what is we can do now and what is the horizon we need to watch. Act Now is covering 80% of the threats, but 20% left is still on the horizon about post-quantum, about agentic security, regulation on AI, how deepfake can be detected. MCP is a new technology, how security it is, and also how to align your model because it's changing so fast, right? Okay, my last takeaway is everybody now very hyped in speed of AI, in launching new feature by days, even by hours. But if you don't go with security, then it's your next speed, it's just the speed to your next bridge. Okay. Now I really want to invite on board Sumit, and he's come from Google. He's an expert in the field, not me. I'm just nearly 2 years in cybersecurity, but Sumit, I think, is already like nearly 20 years. And I want to ask Sumit few questions that from my own research, I still need some validation. And please, you guys can put any question you have in the channel. After we've done the session interview, Sumit, we would go through yours. Okay. Hi, Sumit, are you here?
Yes, I'm here, Katie. Nice to meet
Okay.
everyone. Just by round of introductions, I'm Sumit Jeswani. I'm a cybersecurity practitioner. I've been in this field for around 15 years now. and currently focused on AI security. So I do a lot of industry standard works. We work with OWASP. Even though I work for Google, I just want to be explicit here. I'm not representing Google. I'm speaking from my own experience. But overall, really great to be here and listen to your journey, Katie. And I'm excited to get some questions from you and the audience.
Awesome. Yeah. I definitely want to jump right into the questions because
Sure.
there's a lot I want to learn from you, right?
Sure.
So
Also, just to interject, I would love the questions also to keep coming up in the chat because we don't
Yeah.
have to wait until Katie is done. So,
exactly.
with that,
Yes.
yes, Katie, go on.
Yeah. So Karina, please help me monitor the question in the chat. If you find any interesting question, we can just like bring it up. Okay. Yeah, so the first questions. This is actually like I thought my strongest argument in the slide, like cybersecurity is a sales weapon. That is my argument. Do you agree with me on this? And from your own experience with Google, how that frame hold for you?
That's an interesting question, and what I would say is that that framing absolutely holds. And in my experience, working with founders from different companies at different stages of their journey, right? I mean, early stage startups or hyper growth startups, even enterprises that I help as part of my job, and I've helped over the years. The companies that treat security as a sales asset close enterprise deals faster in my opinion, right? Because I've spoken to a lot of companies who just treat security as a compliance checkbox, and if you have that mindset, you are going to have problems down the line if you're already not having that. So it's really important to see security in the same conversation as your innovation and your business goals, because if there is a breach, you can run as fast as you want, but if there is a breach, you'll have to stop. So the goal is to not be part of a breach, but be prepared enough so that you are not being attacked. Again, no one can guarantee that you will not be attacked, but if your mindset is security first, you'll be much more prepared to handle those breaches if they come your way. So it's really, important to think of it as your sales asset. And one thing that I've seen with, enterprise procurement teams is they don't reject vendors just because they were a subject of a breach, but they typically reject vendors or startups because of a conversation that they couldn't have around security, right?
Mhm.
You need to know how you are handling your data. You need to know what kind of access controls you have and what is your incident response plan, right? If I am your potential target as a startup, and you come to me and try to sell your solution, the first thing I'll ask is, okay, what happens in the first 24 hours if you are part of a breach? And that tells me how prepared you are to be part of those breaches and how you respond to those incidents. So a lot of customers are asking this question. And if you are a startup founder out there, if you are an architect, you need to think of all these things when you are designing your application and workflows.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much, Sumit, for that question. So it's already, make me more confident to share my argument and, empower people to think more about cybersecurity outside there.
Yeah.
So let's come to the second questions. It's about phishing, right? As I mentioned, I
Mhm.
also surprised by the number. Like it's
Yeah.
searching over 1,000 times. Like, so how actually, AI powered tech on startup look like today? Do you have any real life example that can share with the team so that they see that, oh, it's not something like far from their own, right? It's actually right next door.
No, yeah, phishing has been there forever, right? I mean, it's one of the oldest attacks that you can think of. You can read about the history of how attackers used to do phishing attacks. It started with, emails, then SMS phishing. You get a link on your SMS, they ask you to click it and stuff like that. Then it turned into, wishing, which we call it in cybersecurity terms, meaning you get a voice call and they tell you about, certain emergency situation where where they try to make you panic and you need to, act upon certain things. Like you also mentioned, Katie, right? I mean, it is important to pay attention to the signals in those phishing attempts. Where is someone asking you for your financial data? Is someone asking you for some personal data that you shouldn't be sharing with a stranger? Is someone trying to threaten you by saying that, oh, I'm calling from the law enforcement and we need this, right? You need to be cognizant of these kind of things that are happening out there. And you rightly said, right, with AI coming in, it has become much more easier for the attackers, because what they are doing now is they are not just doing plain phishing where they are trying to attack multiple people and trying to and hoping that someone would fall prey to them. With AI powered, what they're doing is they are getting very, very personalized. So it's becoming very difficult to distinguish the real emails, the real SMSs, the real voice calls from the fraudulent ones, right? For those of you who don't know, spear phishing means that it is very targeted and personalized to you as a victim. And yeah, that is really happening. And I was talking to one of the companies recently. They were actually an AI startup. Uh, and when I was talking to the founder, what they said is, they got an email that exactly looked like what could have come from their cloud service provider. It had all the relevant information. They gathered all the information from their LinkedIn profile as to what they do, what kind of they scroll through their posts to see what they've reshared, to understand what kind of services they use, what kind of product they use, and stuff like that. So the attackers went through all the history of the founder, and they created an email where they asked the founder saying that, okay, we are contacting you from your cloud service provider, and we need you to verify your account, otherwise your account will be suspended. And they put in a button at the bottom, ask them to click the link or the button to verify the account. Now, if you are a founder, obviously you are wearing multiple hats, right? Especially for early stage startups, you don't have specialized people who handle certain things. So you tend to, get these menial things out of the way. Uh, what it turned out to be, it was a spear phishing attack. And when this founder clicked that particular link, the attacker captured the session tokens, and they used the tokens for other things where they drained out the money from their accounts and stuff like that. So they tried to gather token information and used it in a way that it affected the organization. So that's one example that I can think of. But just want to reiterate your point, Katie, that spear phishing is very, very real. It has gone up. You mentioned a figure of 1,000%. I think it's even more than that. 1,000% is
Yeah.
what is reported. A lot of people don't even report this because they are ashamed of being the victims.
Mm.
So it's really important to keep that perspective in mind as well. And if you're a startup founder, before you click any links, before you share any sensitive information, you need to ask yourself the question: why does this person need this information at this point of time? So
Mm.
yeah, be safe out there with that.
Wow, yeah. So like existing what is it? Existing attacking method is not empowered by AI, right? And
Correct.
as my journeys see, they are more like risks coming through AI very uniquely. So my next question to you is more on that side. Like, is there any security risk that unique to AI that startups standard, I mean that the standard advice haven't covered yet? And what should a founder of shipping as a product be thinking about that if they haven't? Like, could you like flag it out for them to, be really keep an eye on that?
Yeah, obviously there are so many, but it's important to understand how AI workloads and agentic workloads are different from traditional web applications or
Mm,
traditional applications that you used to have. AI, as a lot of it, generative AI, a lot of it works on LLMs, agents, and stuff like that, and they have peculiar properties. In traditional cybersecurity, it was built for deterministic systems, meaning that you could know that if this is the input, this would be the output. But with
100%.
the
Yeah.
generative AI, it is much more probabilistic. Your AI is trying to, guesstimate what should be the response. It does not know from certain. A lot of things it knows from the training data it has been trained on, from vector databases like RAG. It can go and search certain things, but at the end of the day, it is a probabilistic system which is trying to be more helpful by trying to provide you explanation, by trying to provide you certain opinions, and those opinions are not written anywhere. It's trying to formulate its own opinion. That's why it is called generative, in the first place, right? So it's really important to understand the difference between deterministic and probabilistic. And once you understand that, you will know that there are a lot of attacks which are very peculiar to these AI and agentic systems. Specifically things like, I think you mentioned prompt injection, right? That is the number one attack that happens on these applications. If you look at OWASP top 10 for LLMs, the number one is prompt injection. Right
Mm,
now, prompt injection obviously has, if the attack itself has evolved in the last couple of years. So previously, you gave one example, Katie, where you said that the attackers would say to the LLM that ignore previous instructions or ignore your system instructions. That was the old way of doing it. Now, what they're doing is
mm,
uh, they are embedding those prompts where they say ignore previous instructions or ignore your system instructions into a document within the
mm.
white space of the document. So
Yeah,
what
like they put in the
they,
white space, right?
correct,
Oh,
what
and
they would do
hidden.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, what they would do is they would write a prompt to your LLM and attach, for example, a PDF.
Mm,
And if you read the PDF with naked human eye, you would not find anything malicious. But within the white space of that PDF, they are giving instructions to your LLM to bypass certain guardrails. And that's how prompt injection works, and it is much more dangerous than what it was. Right, the attackers are evolving with the evolving techniques as well. That's one
mm,
thing, if you're a founder, you need to be very cognizant of. You need to put guardrails around your LLMs, your AI systems, to catch those early and flag those to your system. You need to make sure that you're logging those attempts as well. Right, you need to have a mechanism in place. If you think, if your LLM thinks it's subject of prompt injection, it should take a different route. For example, instead of giving the actual output, it should give something else where it is not leaking sensitive data. Right, the other
mm,
thing is, people don't understand, there is a difference between principle of least privilege and principle of least agency now. Right, principle of least privilege
mhm,
is more about how you are giving access to your systems, and how you are making sure that you are giving it the limited access that it needs to perform its job. But principle of least agency, which applies to agents, which applies to AI agents, is that in addition to the access that they can have, it needs to be cognizant enough of the context that they are acting in. Right, your AI agent might have write access or edit access on the database, but does it have the access to delete that database? Have you given them
mm.
that permission? No, right? So that is the principle of least agency. So it's really important to understand that and make
Oh.
sure that you're not giving excess agency to your agents. And then finally, one big talking point. I was at a conference a couple of days ago, where they were talking about non-human identity sprawl. Uh, so, for people who are familiar with the term, non human identity is basically identity given to any of the accounts, right? You can think
Mm,
about APIs, you can think about service accounts and stuff like that, which existed previously. But with the AI era, it is more about, agentic identity. Right,
yeah.
agentic identity is not just about what kind of permissions you are giving, but like I said in the principle of least agency, how are you giving it, how it is supposed to behave in certain contexts, how do you set the goals for your agent and stuff like that. And in
Mm.
my experience, working with founders and working on was top 10 for LLMs, these are the top three things that every founder should understand and have guardrails for.
Mhm. The one that you mentioned, agent identity is really cool. I mean, like it's a new term, but it's definitely, worth watching, right? Is this something related to like the idea that we can let AI do the shopping for us, do almost everything automatically for us, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, so just to differentiate, right? I mean, previously we saw generative AI applications. You can think of all the chatbots like ChatGPT, Claude, whoever you
Mm.
talk with, you give natural commands and then they give you a response. So it is like a text response. But with agents, they have three important
Ah.
properties:
Mm.
autonomy, meaning that they can make their own decision. That falls into your category, your example, right? I mean, they can
Mm.
make a decision for buying a particular product on your behalf, right?
I
So that's
see.
autonomy. And then obviously there's tool use and memory, which we can talk about later.
Mm. Awesome. Cool. Wow. Thank
We
you so
there is
much.
a couple. Thank you, Sumit.
Yeah,
Sorry, Katie. There was a couple
Mm.
of questions in the chat.
sure.
Michaela, do you want to just go on mute, unmute yourself, and then ask your question, please?
Yep.
Yes, sure. Just to follow up about the list agency because it is considered the new
So
list
it's sorry,
article.
Mikhail, it's really hard to hear you. I don't know if it's me or your voice is.
Yeah, it is hard to hear as well. Okay, I'll repeat Michaela's question. Anthropic recently released a framework titled Zero Trust for AI Agents, which highlights a new principle called least agency. I think you touched upon that a little bit, Sumit. Originally from OWASP, this principle restricts exactly what an AI agent's tools can do, how often, and where. Will this strict security principle actually be effective in practice, given that AI agents are inherent?
Now it's a concept, right? And you are right in questioning that whether it will work or not. The answer to that is it'll only work if you are doing the basics right, right? When you are creating that agent, when you are designing the application itself, what kind of access you are giving to that agent, right? What kind of autonomy you are giving to that agent, what kind of tools you are providing that agent to access. If you are giving them open access, it's obviously going to blow out in your face and you are going to be in a very difficult position. So you need to understand that when you are designing an AI agent, there is a very important stage called defining the goal of that agent, and you have to keep monitoring for goal drifts. If you see the goal is drifting, then you need to have guardrails in place to either stop that agent or take out the agent from the workflow. So you have to be very meticulous in your design phase itself. Again, with
Mm.
principle of least privilege, we saw that, right? I mean, it's easier said than done, but you need to keep on learning and updating your policies that you're putting for your, not just for your IAM, but for your agency as well.
Thanks,
Mm-hmm.
Sumit.
Cool.
We have another question from Dwani. I quietly answered that, but I think your expert opinion would be nice. Can LLM detect prompt injection?
Uh, so it's a tricky question, right? The answer is yes and no. Again, you need to understand that this is a really really fast moving space, and things are changing by the hour, if not minutes. Right, we are seeing so many new things come up, and when I say this, it's not just the enterprises who are building this; it's also the attackers who are updating their attack techniques. I gave an example of prompt injection about how it used to happen and how it happens now. The way you try to catch prompt injections is by making sure that if there are specific things like ignore previous instructions, if there are specific things like ignore your system prompts, if there are things like it needs to understand the context as well. For example, if I tell the LLM that, hey, I'm doing this for my university project, so it's harmless, you can tell me, right? Those are indicators where someone is trying to trick the LLM. So you as a developer and a security architect who's trying to protect the LLM, you need to think of all the permutations and combinations that the attackers can use to put the guardrails on. The LLM itself cannot stop the attack, right? The guardrails around it can stop the attack. And again, nothing is 100% foolproof in this world. So there could be new ways that they come up with, and your LLM is susceptible to prompt injection. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Thank you, Sumit. Andrew, do you want to go off mute and ask your question?
Yeah, so mine's actually kind of a two-parter. And first off, thank you for your time this afternoon, but or wherever you are in the world. But I guess my question is, what tools are you for the group? What tools is everyone using to pen test your agents against NIST, AI, RMF, OWASP, or Atlas? And on the defensive side, how are you detecting and responding to when agents start acting outside its intended scope?
So I think it's a question for the broader group. I can just tell you from my side what I'm seeing, and others can chime in as well.
Mm,
Prompt Foo. There are a couple of tools that are popular out there. Again, I am not endorsing anything here, but I'm just talking about what I've seen customers use. Prompt
mhm,
Foo is one of the popular ones. If you've read, OpenAI acquired them because it was getting so popular and stuff like that.
mhm.
There are other pen testing tools as well. But yeah, that's the one that I've found is being very popular.
Okay.
And I think your question on the defensive side, how are you detecting and responding when an agent starts acting outside its intended scope?
Mhm,
That comes down to the strategy that you've built, right? There are several ways you can do it. You can put in uh, uh, things like human in the loop, where it goes to a human to make a decision whether it wants it to keep going, or whether it wants to take out the agent out of the workflow itself. So there are different ways and techniques to do it. And also, a lot of different combination of things happen even before we talk about response. Is your system using something like reinforced learning? Is your system using auditing and stuff like that? So a lot of things go in combination for your incident response, not just the thing that you do after you are susceptible to an attack or a goal drift.
Yep, definitely a layered approach, sounds like, yeah. Very layered
Thank
approach.
Yeah,
you.
Yeah.
Thank you
defense in
so
depth.
much. Yeah, we are at the hour here, but Sumit, if you're okay, I think we can stay for another 10 minutes because there is a wealth of knowledge there. But if you want to wrap, I understand, and we can pick it off later.
No, yeah, I think if there are more questions, I'm happy to stay on for 10 more minutes.
Okay, perfect. Because selfishly had a couple of questions that I wanted to ask as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
from one of my experiences, I think, one of the things that we have observed in a project that we've worked on is the attacker actually kind of like goes back and looks at what we're doing, and then with a 24 to 48-hour window, they retool everything. So they come back and then they come back. So I have two-part question. One is realistically, where are we on the AI that adapts its own detection at the speed that the attacker is actually shifting, not just flagging faster, but actually responding without human rewriting those rules every cycle. And number two is, um, you know, how do you really tell the difference between a real stabilization and a lull when when you see that something is slowed down? How do you know that okay, this is mitigated versus they're still planning something?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, I would say. Right? That's a whole 3 hour workshop that we can do around it. Obviously, on the first part of it, if I recall correctly, you asked about how effective those self-healing properties of the AI are. And this is again, this is an evolving space, like I said, right? I mean, when you're using AI on the defense side of the house, a lot of things are working very well already. Like things like incident response, the things that your junior SOC analyst or your SOC analyst used to do when they are part of the incident response, a lot of them are being taken care of AI agents already, right? And it is being done in a much more efficient way today as compared to human, because with human, there would be a room for judgment or error for judgment. But with AI, it is much more, much more programmed in a way, right? So for specific known use cases, it performs very well. But for the newer things that are coming up, you don't know whether it is performing that well or not until you are part of it, right? So there could be false positives, there could be false negatives, there could be, some efficacy that is lacking there. But it's an evolving space, right? I mean, if you compare it to a couple of years ago, we've come a long way, where we've used AI on the defensive side, where we've used AI on the self-healing side. So it's improving by the day, right? To TLDR, known cases, it does very well. Newer things that are coming up, it tries to reason very well, but it may or may not be the correct decision at that point of time.
Got it. Got it. Thank you. We
I'm
do
sorry, I
have a
forgot
couple.
the second part.
Oh, the second part is, I think you kind of covered it, but basically, when do you know that the silence means that they're done versus they're just planning something else, I guess.
Honestly, you don't know that,
Yeah.
right? If you would have known, you wouldn't have been attacked in the first place,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of these attackers, what they do is they do an initial attack just to find the back door, and they don't do a lot of damage at all, so that they're not caught in the initial attack as well. And then 6 months down the line, they know there is a back door, they have an access to your back door, and then when the timing is right, for
They strike.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are going for an IPO, and they know that if they do a ransomware attack now, it'll be much more beneficial than what they would have gotten out of it 6 months ago. They'll wait for 6 months, right? I mean, they're not just doing security attacks, they are trying to understand your psychology as a startup, or as an organization as well. They're trying to find backdoors, and they use it at the most beneficial time to them. So it could be possible that there's a lull now, and you think it's mitigated. Yes, this attack might be mitigated, but how robust are your guardrails that you put as part of your mitigation plan? If
Hmm.
there is an option for them to somehow find another backdoor, then they will come back.
Yeah. Yeah. They are pretty relentless from what I've observed.
Yeah.
So we have a couple more questions. Think monitored. Okay. I'm just looking at questions that can be answered quite quickly. All right. Okay, I think, Michaela, your question can be done within the 2 minutes that we have. So, how often, okay, following up on the previous question about the principle of least agency, how often do you think those models have to be monitored? And how is the auditing process going to change as a result?
Oh, you need to monitor your models, every second, I would say. And again, when you monitor those models, you don't have to put, a heavyweight AI model on top of your model to monitor it, right? You can use very specialized small language models, like we call it, to monitor your main model. And that way, if it identifies that it is drifting, or if it is doing something out of its scope or the goal drift, it can flag it. Those are called as guardian models. So you have put a very lightweight model on top of your AI model to monitor what's going on, and the guardian model can then have a decision point where it either informs the human, where it interrupts the working of your main model, and there could be different strategies on how you could do. One important thing on the auditing process is, when your agents, if you're giving right access to your agents, never give right access to the audit logs for your agent, right? I mean, if you give them the right access to your audit logs, they are going to obviously change the logs itself, and it's not going to be useful. So those are the things that are being discussed in the industry, as part of these principle of least agency, and how you put AI on AI to cover these kind of things, how you do the alter the auditing strategy. And once you have the logs, having logs is meaningless if you're not going to use them. How are you going to use them? and how are you going to alter your overall agent's behavior using those logs is the important piece.
Thank you, Sumit. I want to wrap with just one last question because I think this is a situation that all of us, like most of the newbies, are facing, which is they try to build tools with only specific LLMs and then they just ship those tools. There is not a lot of engineers or developers or cybersecurity professionals that are quite, involved unless it takes to another next stage. So, in those cases, what are some of the things that they could use while building those tools for AI, AI detection for like vulnerabilities and basic cybersecurity, just to be sure that they don't get caught in the mess?
Right. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, if you're using a third-party model, right? If you're using Claude, if you're using Gemini, if you're using, OpenAI and all those things, uh, in that case, you don't have to worry about the security of the model itself, right? The model providers, the frontier model providers, take care of that very well. But how you are integrating into your tool, the interaction level between your tool and how it is touching the model is really important. You need to put a guardrail in between that so that it's not leaking out sensitive information. If there is if your tool is accessing customer information or customer data, you need to have guardrails in place so that when the interaction happens, you are not leaking out. There needs to be input guardrails, there need to be output guardrails, filters everywhere. You need to look for bias, you need to look for everything. Again, the model itself will take care of it, but the interaction layer between the tools and the model is your responsibility, and it's not the responsibility of the frontier model provider.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Katie. If you want to wrap the session.
Yeah, I really don't want to wrap the session, actually. I wish that I already put like 1.5 hours at least for the session because there's a lot of questions coming up and more to discuss about this one, right? So anyway, we just have 1 hour and we already overrun 10 minutes, so we cannot keep everybody longer. So just a last sentence from me. If you want to keep the conversation going on, let's join our group on LinkedIn, the AI Collective Cybersecurity Vertical. We just have this group a few months ago, and up to now, just 40 people. And we'd love to have more people here so that we can have more events like this online, podcast, offline events, and talk more about this and bring more people into this conversation. If you find this really useful, please help us growing the community. Yep, that's it. Thank you so much, everybody, for staying until this last minute, and very happy that we are all together in the Human AI Week by the AI Collective. Awesome. Take care. Have a good rest of your Friday.
Take care, everyone. Thank you for
Thank you all.
joining.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.